Welcome back to Survive Outdoors. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about psych in the outdoors. I've had probably a half a dozen people over the last 6 months ask me to do something on that, and we're going to target that. So I'm a licensed physician assistant, been practicing emergency medicine, urgent care medicine for 43 years. I also have a doctorate in psych. For 20 years, I worked as a psychologist. I worked with adolescents, teenagers, adults, worked in the criminal justice system for a while. So today we're going to be talking about hubris syndrome and narcissistic personality disorder in the outdoors. And when I was prepping for this, ironically, Backpacker magazine, February 27th of this year, came out with this great article about deaths in national parks. And as you'll see here, they talk about like 21% were due to hyperthermia. People just weren't drinking enough water and they got overheated and they died. 17% from wildlife incidents, 12% medical, COPD, lung disorders, MIs, and about 17% from falls. And there are some other percentages. You can freeze that and look at them or pull up the article. And I'm here to tell you that in a lot of those situations, you have individuals that either suffer from hubris syndrome or narcissistic personality disorder. So hubris syndrome, contrary to some of the articles you're going to read, is not a psychiatric diagnosis. And for my healthcare providers out there, you can't bill for a diagnosis of hubris syndrome. It is not in the DSM-5. NPD is, and you have to meet 5 of the 9 criteria to meet a full-blown narcissistic personality disorder diagnosis. And I'm here to tell you, in the last 8 years, as you are very well aware, that diagnosis has been thrown around like water. It's everywhere. It's been mislabeled, misused, and people are jumping on the bandwagon. Everybody's a narcissist. And it's really becoming grossly clinically inappropriate. So why is this important in the outdoors? It's important because it can get you killed and or get you hurt. And how that happens is if you have a friend or a colleague that you're out there hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, spending time in the outdoors, this is the individual that knows more than you do about building a fire. They don't ask for help. That is a red flag. Learn to ask for help. I'm here to tell you, paddling a canoe across the lake is much easier with 2 people than 1 person. Yes, if both people don't know what the hell they're doing, then yeah, it's difficult. But it's important in life to teach our children to ask for help. And if you don't ask for help, you're going to increase your chances of getting injured. And you're doing a disservice to the next generation. Some people say, oh, well, there's no confidence, you don't gain self-esteem. That is absolutely wrong. You actually can empower a child better by teaching them it's okay to ask for help in a task, whatever that might be. Getting too close to the edge of the rocks, having poor judgment. Poor judgment is just a criteria of hubris syndrome. So a person can have false pride, not meet the criteria of hubris syndrome, and still screw up in the outdoors and take you along with them. This is the guy in the boat that you guys are fishing for crappie and the storm's coming up, lightning, and you're like, hey, let's go in. No, you just see that on TV. We're not going to get hit by lightning. Let's stay out until we get our limit. That's the person that's going to get you hurt. All right. So with hubris syndrome, you're going to find that these individuals usually like power and control. They're very grandiose. They think they can do a lot more than you can, even if they don't have the experience. And if you confront that, you're in for a huge defensive argument. You're not going to win that argument. So I'm just giving you the heads up. This is a person you're better off not being with in those situations where, there's a storm, there's a problem, someone gets hurt. This is the Johnny Rescue kind of guy. Um, so that's important. If you have a story of a situation where you ran into one of your friends and it got a little hairy, put it down below. I'd love to hear it. That would be helpful for other people too to hear your story. So, how does that differ from narcissistic personality disorder, which has been used over and over the last 8 years? Narcissistic personality disorder is someone who has a very similar characteristics of hubris syndrome, but these individuals, they have no empathy. They really have no. They may say they do. Oh, I care about you, especially in a relationship, but they do not show the behavior in an empathetic way. They don't go out of their way to care or love or help their spouse. So that is one of the hallmarks you'll see in NPD. Some famous individuals that have blatant NPD: John F. Kennedy, George W. Bush, Tony Blair, Margaret Thatcher. These individuals, Franklin Roosevelt, showed some gross narcissism. A lot of politicians, if not all, to some degree, have some degree of narcissistic personality. Um, they just love power and control, no empathy, can be very dangerous, can be explosive. And in this, Into the Wild, his dad was a classic narcissist. Uh, he wanted to escape that situation so bad. The Gabby Petito case that happened, which was all over the media. My wife and I were actually out at Jackson Hole when that happened. That guy was a classic narcissistic personality with sociopathic tendencies. Narcissists, all people that kill other individuals that are homicidal are not necessarily narcissists. They have some traits. And this is where the lay people get it wrong, where they just start labeling everybody a narcissistic personality disorder. And that's very dangerous to do that. It's overused, overdiagnosed. So you want to be careful with that. Um, in the healthcare profession, healthcare providers, surgeons, they're under tons of stress. I see a lot of narcissists in the OR. Um, Power, control, high stress. Um, I had a kid one time that aspirated a quarter, about 8 years old, and the surgeon took the laryngoscope, broke two of his front teeth, got so angry, took the laryngoscope, threw it across the OR, shattered against the wall, stormed out. The anesthesiologist and I are the ones that ended up getting the quarter out. So you see this in all aspects of life. You see this with salesmen, you see this with physicians and PAs and NPs. It's all over the place. Contractors, plumbers, everywhere. It's when you go into the outdoors, which always can be a little risky anyway, and then you throw a teaspoon of narcissism, a little bit of false pride in the mix, and now you have a situation. So it's really important to look at the red flags in relationships you may have with your peers, and do you really want to be out there in the outdoors with these individuals? And it takes some good judgment on your part to figure that out. So that is really important to look at. I can't underscore that enough. We cannot minimize this. It is very real, and it's really beneficial to be aware of it so the next generation is not injured. I mean, we went through the nature versus nurture numerous times when grad school. There's not a whole lot that shows that there's a genetic predisposition to this. This usually occurs when a child's growing up from 7 to the early teens. Usually a paternal figure, can be maternal, where there is gross injury, emotional and or physical abuse to the child growing up, condescension, sarcasm, shots. You see it with alcoholic parents, very common. This child grows up with a very poor self image, very poor self esteem, overshoots the mark, and you have the slow development and growth of this false pride, sometimes some narcissism, and you get poor judgment. And these kids grow up to be unfortunately, very, very emotionally lonely adults. So be careful, guys, in the outdoors. Be aware of that. If you go back to the Backpacker magazine, you'll see that those, look at those little slices of the pie and look at those deaths. And you could actually take some guesses of when false pride was involved and poor judgment that caused these deaths, more than you probably would imagine. All right, next video up, we're going to be doing some reviews. We have a giveaway in March. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Throw a comment down below. Keep your eyes on the rise and your face to the wind. We'll see you next time.